first step we want to do is create adaptive components from these polygons. Now we can jump right into these surfaces and analyze a good deal of them, but what I'd like to do is show how we can have this analysis show up in our Revit file so that you can update given sheets or color certain panels in a certain way to represent that in your documentation rather than being wholly contained in Dynamo. So let's zoom out a bit and let's consider what we're using to drive our adaptive components. We're going to use our points. Zoom out just to give you a little bit of context here. I'm going to zoom back in, move these two nodes aside for now, and let's minimize that output. So I'm going to clear the search bar and type in adaptive. I'm going to expand this a bit so we can see. And I'm going to go to Revit Elements, Create by Points. So here's our adaptive components by points. We've used this before. And we have our point input. I'm going to clear the search bar and search for family types. This is all process we've used earlier in the lesson. And we're not using adaptive truss here, that's what we used on our facade. So I'm going to open the pull down. And the name of this adaptive component is quad. We want quad base panel. I'll choose that. And that'll be our family symbol. So now if I hit run, it may take a moment to generate 225 instances, but we're actually arraying a basic quad component with a thickness into our Revit file. So you can see now that our adaptive components have arrayed, they are quite thick. This thickness is what you should see in your file as well. Granted, this is not realistic, but it's definitely showing you how we're creating three-dimensional geometry from an original XYZ spreadsheet. So let's get these to settle down a bit, but to illustrate this thickness parameter, it's something that will come in useful in a future tutorial. I'm going to select one, right-click, and hit Select All Instances Visible in View. It's a quick way in Revit for me to select all of those adaptive components. So you can see it's at about 2.5 meters right now. Let's just take it down to 0.1. Just treat them kind of as flat for the time being. Okay, so we now have our roof geometry in our file. And you have to be aware that once you're creating adaptive components this size and this many, your Revit file can start to slow down. So if you have a lot of people working in a project, it's something you have to be very aware of, and at times there are better families out there. Adaptive components are ideal here because they're great for the demonstrative purposes of Dynamo, but often there are better options out there for creating a leaner Revit file. And now we have our thinner panels, and the major advantage here, if I clear the search bar and minimize it, and this is what we're going to be looking at in the coming lessons. We now have our adaptive components. These are in the same order as our surfaces in Dynamo, which are also in the same order as our points. So we have a lot of opportunity here to analyze a wide range of aspects, from a Revit element to a Dynamo element to pure Excel numbers. So we're going to give a taste of that in the coming tutorials, but stay tuned for more.